sold 16,000 ropes, but QVC doesn't measure it by how many units. They measure it by revenue per minute. And I cruise along at $34,000 per minute for 10 minutes. So it was my record show by 7,000 ropes. But I'll be on again this Sunday between 7-11 Eastern time and Wednesday night, 10 to midnight Eastern time. 2 holiday shows. They have 25,000 ropes left, and I'm hoping to clear them out in 2 shows.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well,
and you just sit around and wait for reorders, so that's how they work.
Yeah. And you're still selling on your website and other places too. So that's pretty awesome.
I license loop rope off. They let me keep QVC. So somebody else is running it now. Amy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Canela Media took it over.
Yeah. I saw on the back end of the site.
Yeah.
So, so everybody, while we're letting them in here, let's get started. And, John and Jim over at the Orange County Inventors Forum, I'm so glad that we've gotten to speak with everybody, and they wanted to do a little bit different. Normally for this end of the year meeting, it's members talking about the progress that they've made through the year. And they thought that since there's been a lot of movement this year with a lot of different projects and different statuses, that they'd have me come bring some clients that have had some successes and things happen that are a little outside the norm for the Inventors Forum, so that we could share a little bit about the story, the behind the scenes. And I also want to give members a space at the end of the evening to talk about things that they've accomplished this year. So we'll go ahead and we're going to get started. I know we have a couple of people here that need to wrap around 8:30 Pacific time. So want to definitely respect that. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
We're good?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to mute everybody but the panelists, so that we get a nice clean recording. And we'll bring a little bit of context. So I'll unmute everyone from the panel as we get going into the question part. So the context for tonight really is about what is success and what does it look like and how do you even get there? There can be a lot of misunderstandings with entrepreneurs. We think that we're going to just do this one thing and it's going to magically work and everything's going to just be swimming along super fast. So you actually have to put in more effort than that. And sometimes it's more effort than you think. But your outcomes can be very different. So we have people in different stages of their businesses. I know that some of the members of the Orange County Forum, in the Inventors Forum, haven't commercialized yet. Some are on their path to that. And I see that we've got Mark joining us. So, hey there, Mark. Do you want to say a welcome as we get started here?
Yes, thank you, Amy, for getting us started, and thank you for being here tonight. So everyone, we've had confusion here on, I don't know, somehow we got 2 links sent out, I guess. And most of the people that were joined on this other link, I think, have transferred. There's still some that are showing that they're on this link. So I'm going to keep it alive and direct people back to Amy's link. But the Inventors Forum, this is our final meeting of the year. We are a nonprofit 501c3 organization that is existing for 30 years now, and we're wanting to help inventors get further along in their craft. And we're so happy to have Amy with us tonight. And Amy's going to talk about, well, you do the products to profits, right? And we're talking about success stories tonight as well. So let me turn it over to Amy. Welcome, everyone. And I apologize for the confusion to those that were confused with this link. So please take it away, Amy.
Thank you so much, Mark. And, success stories are really exciting. And there's always the story of entrepreneurial grit behind the scenes, right? There's a process to it. And we have something that we use internally, and it's an 11-point checklist for launching products. And we work with products in all different stages. So we get the luxury of seeing things all the way from startup to really well-established companies that are doing turnarounds. And so how you define success is different. And I just want to take a minute and introduce, we've got 4 different businesses here tonight that I'm very familiar with, that are product folks. So let's kick this off with, if they could each introduce themselves a little bit. I know their projects really well. So we have Jeff Chambers. Jeff Chambers is from Guardian Athletics with the Cato collar. You might have seen some information in the email that was sent out. And then Tracey McGhee from Ms. J brand, which is missjetsetter.com. And I'll have each of you talk a little bit more about your products. And then we have Giuseppe Veneziano from Infant Tech with Zuby baby monitor for cars, and Jeff Dahl from Loop Rope. So everyone, who wants to take 30 seconds, a minute, and introduce yourselves out of the 4 of you? Oh, you know what? I think I've got to unmute everybody.
There, I had myself muted.
Got it.
Yeah. So, but we heard everything. So Jeffrey Dahl here, coming at you from Maui. I invented a product, it's been about 11 years ago now, called Loop Rope. It's a revolutionary fastening system that just absolutely replaces the daily use of dangerous limited bungee cords and those messy cargo nets. It's really a revolutionary product. It's like duct tape of bungee cords. But I met Amy, I don't know, what, 8 years ago, right in there at CEO space. And Amy helped my partner and I. It's been a long road, but Amy helped us with that packaging back there. It's evolved even since then, like the clips and different sizing. It just depends on where you're trying to get into your product, but it's evolved even since then. But Amy definitely helped us put us on the right path, and for branding, and of course the Christian who did the logo, but that was his name, wasn't it? But anyway, yeah. I've been through the gamut. Been trade shows for many years. I've recently finally have licensed it off to another company, a larger media company, because I've taken it just as far as I think I can or care to. And I get to hold my QVC cells, so I still own that, and I'm very active in QVC. I've sold basically 100,000 ropes on them through them over 6 years, which is really still nothing when you start hitting primetime slots. They could be a hell of a lot more than that. But anyway, here to answer questions. If anything, that's pretty much my gig. Any questions I can answer? Love to help.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. And for everybody who wasn't here, Jeff is actually now living on Maui. So if any of you, that's your dream, he's moved over there pretty much full time, isn't it?
Kama'aina, got the Hawaiian IDs. So yeah, we live here.
That's awesome. Now, Giuseppe, would you introduce yourself to everybody?
Sure. I'm Giuseppe Veneziano. I'm the co-founder with Infant Tech. I invented the Zuby baby monitor for cars. It's a plush animal with a camera embedded in the nose, and it hangs in front of your baby car seat as they're facing backwards in the car, and it projects a streaming video to the monitor that's affixed to your dash. So it reduces a lot of the head turning, the arm reaching to see what's happening with the baby in the back seat. It's been crash tested. We started with 2011, I believe, was when we did, but we actually launched. It was quite a big deal. We launched in 2014, and we've been actually last year and this year has been like the best year we've had, and it's kind of crazy after the whole pandemic. It was like the best year we ever had. We literally had a 650% jump on the fourth quarter from normal. It was just ridiculous. And I was like, okay. And now we're at the crossroads of having to meet up with, keep demand going with all the supply chain interruptions and disruptions and everything, and keep the inventory in stock. And it's been a kind of a crazy roller coaster, but well worth it. You know, it's me and my wife, Lizette, we started this and we love it.
You know,
That's awesome.
for anybody who hasn't seen the product yet, we'll pull up some screenshots in a minute, but Giuseppe and Lizette's project actually combines the technical aspects of having a camera, having Bluetooth connections, Wi-Fi enabled, like the technology that's behind it, but also the challenges of a cut and sew plush toy, because the camera is actually embedded in the plush toy so that it entertains a baby in the back seat as well. So their challenges are twofold, right? There's the plush supply is not usually a camera supplier, right? So there's a few combination pieces there. And Jeff Chanbers, could you unmute yourself and introduce Guardian Athletics?
Oh, yes. Yes, Guardian Athletics is a company I started. We started it a while ago, changed the name. First started the company in 2007, introduced my product, Cato Collar, which is a preventive safety device, which goes beyond the helmet to reduce the forces and mechanisms that cause concussions in sports and activities that wear helmets. We've been selling for about 3 years now. So we introduced in 2018, finalized our product in 2019. So we're out there, and we were the first safety device to go beyond the helmet in head health technology to reduce the forces and mechanisms that cause concussion. And we'll probably get more into the head health technology discussion tonight, because that's kind of been that's the narrative and the paradigm set by NFL and big business about what head health technology is. So and I'd like to add to what Giuseppe said. We've had our best year this fall and in October of sales of any season we've been out there for football season. So that it's been for us a good year, being as young as we are, and some of the struggles we faced.
That's awesome. I love hearing that, because, you know, if you watch the news, it could sound like this, like everything has gone. And so part of the reason that I really wanted you all to come talk is because there's growth, right? And like, let's go into 2022 really strong and looking forward and looking up. So Jeff, thank you so much for that. And Tracey McGhee, would you come introduce your business and Miss J and let us know what's up there?
Sure. So good evening, everybody. I'm Tracey McGhee. I'm the founder of Miss Jet Setter. It's a line of travel accessories for women. And it really came about because I love to travel. It's been something I've done for years, but I always ran into the things that were kind of frustrating for me. And I assumed that other women had the same problem. So like tangled necklaces and disorganized makeup and toiletries. And when I just looked at what was available, I wasn't really excited about what I saw. And so I decided to research it. And so I launched, the timing could not have been worse or better, however you want to look at it, but I launched my line in fall of 2019. And so it was definitely a kind of a difficult time, but with the pivot, I had a pivot product, and that actually got me into Walgreens here in Chicago, which was just a great opportunity. So it was a mask and wristlet set. And so we're looking at expanding into more stores and then adding a new product to that wristlet set concept. So I met Amy about, I think it was I can't even remember, everything is blending together, but she's been incredible, just helping with packaging and pitching and just everything from A to Z, especially because I didn't know what I was doing. So Amy was just really instrumental in helping me get on the right path. So just happy to be here tonight.
Thank you, Tracy. And now,
Costing too, costing, helping us with
Yes.
cost, pulling all that stuff together. You have no idea. Yeah. A lot of help
Yeah.
there, Amy. Thank you.
oh, thank you. And there's definitely some things when it comes into costing and pricing and how to pitch that you really need to pay attention to. And I'm happy to answer questions about that. But what I'd like to know from the four of you is there a mission behind what you're doing? And how did you come up with it? Like, what's your driving force if you haven't already talked about it? So Jeff Chanbers, I know you've got some things behind that.
Somebody else go first. I'll go second.
I'll go first.
It's interesting because my mission initially was just to create a product. I got the idea way back in 1998 because I could not prevent a neck injury called the burner stinger to one of my football players, not knowing at that time that slowing down the helmeted head, and as the concussion dilemma became big and researching it, that one of the biggest things that we can do to prevent concussions is slow down the head and bring it to a stop sooner. Because in reality, forces don't act on the brain unless the head moves. So the brain only reacts to anything that the head does. So helmets can only do anything for a brain upon impact during impact duration. And so my mission really is to change the paradigm of thought and the narrative behind what causes concussion, educate the masses of what really is a concussion or injury to the brain and how the brain is injured, because there's nothing out there that's really explaining the standpoint. All the technology and all the money out there is going towards helmets. And I really began to research and made this my mission last fall when the #1 helmet ranked by the NFL 3 out of the last 4 years spent $90 million, $20 million to get to the market, $70 million marketing, and sold out in April 2020 for $2.9 million. If they were the answer to concussion, helmets can't prevent all of them. So my mission is to make the game safer for kids that want to play football and other helmeted activities, and to really tell the truth and educate people about what's going on with regards to it.
Thanks. I love that. And Giuseppe, you were going to talk a little bit about the baby safety, right? Tell me more about what's behind
Yeah,
Infinite.
so our product, we invented it basically out of a need. We were with our firstborn. He's 10 now, but it's been that long. And my wife was driving an SUV and was kind of first time mom, didn't know what to expect, and was pretty nervous when driving with him in the back seat. And I'm going out there to the different toy stores at the time and baby stores, and there was just nothing out there that was practical. We just the best thing that they had was those mirrors, and when you looked at it, me being a techie is like, well, this mirror's not going to cut it. This is kind of it's obsolete. By the time you look at the rearview mirror and then look at the mirror and then look at your baby, the baby's like this tall, and you really can't see what's going on with him or her. And so at the end of the day, it helped parents. It helped my wife to be able to drive, having peace of mind, knowing what's going on with our son in the back seat. By the time we had our daughter, about 2.5 years later, we were able to use it. Because it was in the market at the time, and it was this is the reason why we actually kept on going and kept making this product, because my wife was driving around with my daughter, and she had just gotten back from the doctor's visit, and the doctor had poked my daughter's finger and put a Band-Aid on it. And, you know, my wife is driving back home from the doctor's. She sees our daughter putting her finger in her mouth. And when the finger came out, the Band-Aid was gone. So she was able to see that the baby, our daughter had the Band-Aid in her mouth, and she pulled over, you know, got to attend to her and pulled the Band-Aid out. Otherwise it would have definitely, it was those silent suffocations that, well, you know, that dread, that parents dread to know that they didn't know what was going on. Their baby was quiet, and next thing you know, the baby's gone. So it was definitely a godsend that we had the product. And as a matter of fact, even last week, we had a parent, one of the customer who purchased our Zuby, and it saved their baby's life because they got a hold of a wrapper in the back seat, and the baby would have been suffocating with a wrapper stuck in the throat. And so just saving babies' lives and making parents' lives easier is why we do what we do.
That's fantastic. And what was the stat on the percentage of accidents that are caused because a parent turns around to check children?
Oh, 6 out of 10 parents get into car accidents because they've turned around, took their eyes off the road, and got in a car and crashed, and that leads to the number one causes of children's deaths and vehicle accidents. You know, it surpasses drownings, and it surpasses any other disease. Its number one cause of death is car accidents.
Wow, that's a great problem to solve. And I know Jeff Dahl, you had said, "Oh, I'll answer that." What's your mission behind what you're doing? What's the cause for you guys?
Well, I think it's changed over the past 12 years, but you know, I think I'm just like everybody else who doesn't want to invent something and bring it to market and, you know, make a shitload of money. And that's what that's what we all want to do. But you weren't here, but it's like, be careful what you wish for, right? We all know, you know, people ask me, what else am I working on? It's like, hey, I'm not an inventor. I'm just a guy who came up with a product and I did something about it. So I'm one and done. It started out in the real estate crisis. I was losing all my houses. I was just getting crushed, and I was at the rogue disposal, untying a knot on a rope. I'm just a square knot on top of square knot on top of square knot guy. And the thought seriously that day occurred to me is like, shit, somebody ought to not even me, just somebody needs to manufacture rope, regular rope, where a loop would come out of the weave every couple inches, and you would zip tie those loops together to create tension, and the zip tie would be your knot. So, and shoot, they should call it loop rope. So with trailer and tow, I went to the boat store, I bought rope, tied hitch knots in it, bought big old zip ties, and I finished our move. We were moving from the house that we were getting foreclosed on back in our old house, and used it built the prototype that day, named it that day, used it that week. And a week later, I was at a local patent attorney and started the process, and just was full speed ahead because I just knew I had something that worked. So it was to get myself, you know, out of trouble, number one. But now for me, it's just a legacy. You know, I look forward to hopefully, you know, my grandkids and great grandkids will see loop rope on the shelf one day and go, shit, my grandpa invented that, you know. So that's really what's about now.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny that you mentioned grandpa and grandkids and like that. A lot of you don't know that I come from a family of resourceful, creative inventor types. I actually have found the patent from my great grandfather from 1913, I think it was, where he invented a device that kept railroad rail from shifting side to side and up and down. And he licensed it to the American Railroad Corporation. And then he did another one that was a family legacy story of my great grandfather inventing the music stand. And I was able to find that. And it wasn't the music stand. It's a version of the music stand. It was an extension that let you do extra wide sheet music, like multiple pages. So when you talk about grandkids and great grandkids seeing something you did, I actually have the PDF image of his patents with his signatures on them. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
I mean, really cool, right? Like,
I mean,
so
that is what it is for me now, but I do love making people's lives easier, one loop rope at a time. There's no doubt about it.
yeah. And I will tell everybody, we still have the loop ropes that we use. We keep that one for fun because that's the first
This stuff
version.
almost lasts too long.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, we use one of them, a 5-foot rope will hold down a Christmas tree on a Jeep Grand Cherokee on the way
Oh,
home from the hardware store. So, and then Tracey, I want to bounce over to you. We talked a little bit about how you got inspired for Ms. J, but you also bring some other things to it as far as your desire to be organized when you travel. So what's your purpose behind the brand?
So I realized when I was doing my intro, I was like, oh, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it's like you said, I'm not a type A person, but I like to have things in place. And as I mentioned, through several trips, and I've been to nearly 30 countries, on almost every trip I would pack everything up, and then by the time I got where I was going, and I'm unpacking things, my necklaces would be a mess. It would take me an hour to unravel them. It was just a pain. It wasn't a big deal, but it was enough for me to remember it. And it was enough for me to wonder why this continued to happen. And then when I started to look for jewelry cases that would keep the necklaces straight, I never found anything that worked. I've tried several of them and it just never, I could never find the right one. And so that was really what started everything. And then that led to the makeup case. With that, I would always pack my makeup separate from my makeup brushes because I had full-size makeup brushes. The makeup cases were smaller. And there again, I was like, why is it that I can't just have everything in one place? So that led me to design the makeup case that included travel size makeup brushes. So everything really, and that's my goal with every piece, is that there's something there that will help to make a woman's travel life easier and more organized, so that you're not constantly looking for things. You know where everything is because you can either see it, or just everything is packaged or organized in such a way that you know where everything is. And so that really is what inspired the line. And I just also wanted to create pieces that were functional but stylish, because that was something else that I thought was missing. When I would look for pieces, they would either be really functional, but they just weren't as cute. And I know being cute is not a big deal, but I was like, okay, why is it that I can't have everything? I wanted something that was attractive looking, but it was also functional. And so that's what I sought out to do, is just create pieces that were a combination of both. And so far, I mean, that's the travel trios. Like I said, what I launched with the pandemic, I pivoted, but I still stayed within the travel accessory space. And I was thinking, okay, what do you need when you're out during a pandemic? You need a mask and you need somewhere to keep it. So that's what really got me thinking about the mask wristlet combination. And so the more I started looking at things that women need, the more I started seeing options, or opportunities rather. And then talking to other women, they're like, oh, I didn't think about it. Well, you're right. I mean, that's something that I could use. So I'm still early in the journey, but it's been, the doors keep opening. The momentum is still there. So just looking forward to next steps.
That's awesome. And you know what? Looking cute at things is never just a thing. I know that Selena and I were talking about this earlier today. It's got to be nice, right? Like there's got to be a sense of quality, and and to have it be at an affordable price point, right, that makes sense for people is a really big deal. It actually changes how people view themselves, is my piece about that.
It is so true, because our collar, until some people started thinking it was cool, it was not cool. High school kids didn't think it was cool until they started seeing it on guys like Skolsky. Then it was cool.
But yeah, so that kind of speaks to the importance of an influencer, the importance of somebody talking about it. And I know that we've all got some experience with that. But I'd love to know, what are you most proud of with your product? Anybody?
I'll go. I'll start. One of the few things that I'm proud of with with our product is the fact that, you know, we're out there saving babies' lives and making parents' lives easier. But I think once I actually saw it as a finished product, from coming from thought to paper and getting it in a box, was just, it's like, oh, this is real. You know, I mean, not a manufacturer, not a, you know, just came up with an idea and, you know, had some help from Amy, and this is the next thing you know, here's our thing. So it was actually, I think those are the proud things, you know, about our product, is saving babies' lives and just seeing it in action.
I remember the first version of the product. That was the first one. It was a sock monkey.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I might have one here, but I don't have the sock monkey. I do have a picture of it, but not the actual one.
Yeah. Tip for everybody who's inventing a product: keep your first prototype around, because by the time you get to the one that's in the market, it changes so much.
Long way away.
Yeah, Jeff, you had that experience from the rope of
kept
the
most of
original.
my prototypes. I got like 50 of those things in my garage. Yeah. Probably most proud of for me is, you know, I like loop rope sightings. I like driving down the road and seeing people use it. So to me, that's pretty amazing, you know, from 12 years ago to actually just seeing it out in the marketplace. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
And
people value it, you know, people value it. And you know, you're going to be hard pressed to find a crappy review. I mean, QVC, they're even blown away. It's 50, you know, there's 62 reviews and 59 of them are all 5-star. So, and a return rate of 1.57% out of 100,000 ropes. It's just doesn't even register, you know, it's just nothing. So I guess I'm proud of that success at QVC as well.
that's fantastic. And Tracey, what are you most proud of about where you are now?
You know what, when I tell people that I launched a travel accessory line right before the pandemic, the response is always like, oh, poor thing. And that's how I felt too, you know, at the moment when things shut down. I was just like, are you kidding? I cannot believe that this is actually happening. But I'm proud of the fact that I was able to pivot, and that pivot actually led to other opportunities that I never would have had, number one, if I didn't pivot, and opportunities that I wouldn't have, I just wouldn't have expected. And it's just, it taught me a lot just about the importance of the perseverance as an entrepreneur. It's like, you got to keep going no matter what. So I'm just proud of still being here, number one, and being able to take a challenge and allow that to evolve the business and the product offering. So I think that's what I'm most proud of.
Yeah. And Jeff Chanbers, what about you? Most
I'd
proud
have
of
to-
or most enjoy?
I kind of have to ditto what Giuseppe and Tracey said from the standpoint of what Giuseppe said, when it became a product and it was in a box and we were sending it out, from idea to product to market, that was a major accomplishment. And as Tracey said, one of the biggest things I'm most proud of is not quitting. Through COVID and the things we learned, and we have a product that's working, it's starting to be received, and it's being used for prevention of re-injury, but still not seen as prevention of injury. Not quitting when all the people around me are saying, what are you doing? You should quit. You should quit. This is crazy. And just not doing that. And the other thing I'm proud of, based on what I told you about a helmet company that is in this same market of preventing concussions, we have done what we have done over the last 4 years on less than $1.5 million. And to
Wow.
get a safety device to market that prevents what we're preventing. And my goal is to save one brain at a time. To me, we've been very frugal and did what we had to do to get it done. And I'm proud of that.
Absolutely. And what a way to use your 39 years of of physical training with sports teams to, and then to actually develop a product to fill that need is a really big thing. From my standpoint, when I was designing jewelry components and things, I knew that I had made something really good when I live in Los Angeles and my mom in New York State went into a Joann's sewing store, and she was my secret shopper 45 minutes from this little tiny town where I grew up. And my mom went in and she watched someone pick up something I had designed in a section and pick up another competing manufacturer's product, hold both of them in their hand, and then put mine in the shopping cart. Right? Like, that was cool. It was just cool. And for my mom to see that to fruition mattered to me somehow. So I think we all have had some moment where it's like, oh, that's real. So one of the things that really happens, right? Course corrections. We've talked about pivoting. I think that word has become etched in our psyches over the past 20 some months. So were there any big pivots? Tracey, I know you talked a little bit about yours, but even in the process of developing a product, I want to know, did any of you start with one idea and something drastically had to change?
Yeah, I tried to make ropes in the USA and it didn't work. I had to go to China. I tried my best to make them in Medford. I had guys crimping ropes, I stacking ropes up, and the numbers just didn't work. So that's when we met Bruce Rothwell with Direct Text. Not with him anymore, but found a guy that actually good luck. I wouldn't say good luck because it's very difficult finding money for inventory. I couldn't get a bank to loan on me for anything, but found a manufacturer, Bruce, and he believed in the product and he bankrolled me. And I really don't think I'd be where I am at today if it wasn't for him funding my inventory, But so it was definitely a pivotal moment. I was really trying to go made in the USA, but it's very, very difficult for a bungee cord.
Jeff, you already had sales at that point when you were asking the manufacturer to do that. So there were already things happening to believe in. I want to be really clear with people about that, because sometimes they'll try to negotiate with a manufacturer before they really have much sales velocity. So there's not really much to kind of hang your hat on, or your Hawaiian shirt, if you're in Hawaii.
Yeah. So that was pivotal. There's, it's 12 years of pivoting, from doing trade shows to paying people that don't perform to, product reps. You pay them, and they don't perform. I mean, it costs a lot of money. You learn a lot of it. Everything's pivotal. But for me, that was it. Yeah, trying to stay made in the USA, and maybe some of you guys are, most of you are, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it becomes really challenging. Right now, the shipping rates are going up, so some of that has affected things. Who else had a really big pivot? Anybody? Tracey, I know you had travel line to masks. Anything else?
We made a pivot after our first year. We learned high school budgets, and high school coaches really liked our product, but they only had so much money to spend. So, if you're going to buy four or five collars for $2,000 or for $1,000, because we run at $249, more, less for more they order, but who do they put it on? Because if somebody gets hurt, mom's going to want to know why her kid didn't have it and this other kid had it. So we pivoted and we went to a rental program the next year. And we have done a rental program where they can get 25 collars and rent 25 collars for $1,000 a year. And then we also this year introduced what we called our Head Health Hero program to encourage them to put it on at least half their players. If they put it on half their players, we rent it to them for $25 a collar, which is our cost to get them started. And one of the things we did that for too is we also found out our first year that we really, really worked. That's one of the other prouder things I'm proud of, because I've received at least a dozen calls this year from dads or moms that put it on their kids and said their kid loves it and they haven't had their re-injury, or some of them bought it for prevention and said they haven't injured their neck or their head since they put it on. Their kid loves it. So that was a
That's
pivot for us when it came to marketing our product to the different levels that we have to market it to.
Almost sounds like a subscription business.
It is, and
That's where the
we
money
did it
is.
too. We did it too because we thought investors would see as we went, it's a recurring revenue stream because they keep the same collars.
Yep.
So it hasn't, COVID really hurt us. We had 11 schools the first year. 6 out of those 11 came back the next year and paid for it, even though they didn't know at the time they paid for it whether they were going to have football or not.
wow.
Wow.
And, one of the things that isn't clear about what we've been talking about with Jeff's product for the football players is that the Cato collar doesn't obstruct their head movement, right? So they can still have complete mobility on the field while they're playing, but it minimizes the risk. So what it actually also does is it makes moms and dads more comfortable with their kid going out for football, right? There's that little bit of resistance that gets dropped because of it. And, if you can extend a player's life and minimize the risk of their injury, what's not to love? And you can do it for $25. Are you kidding me? That's like value proposition.
Well, $250 is still cheap. I mean,
Yeah, and what's interesting is we found that it was good for marketing because the booster club of most of these schools are what come up with the money. So more and more people find out about it because that's where the parents are learning about it and the coaches introducing it. And I've been on several Zoom meetings with with the booster groups, which has been really cool. And it was a big pivot to know how to get to high schools. So.
Jeffrey, just so you know, I sent your link to my buddy, his kids at UCLA. We'll see if, and Kyle has had a few concussions. I mean, if there's anything that's going to end a career at a kid in college, a starter, it's going to be concussions. I mean, a couple of more and they probably wouldn't even be draftable. You know what I mean? I mean, he's had several concussions. So
I understand. And Amy mentioned something that we allow for full motion. So we don't inhibit performance. And that's the reason I designed it, because every position on every play in every position on the football field can wear it, and it does not hinder their performance. We've had college cornerbacks wearing it. We've had high school quarterbacks. We've had college tight ends wearing it. We had an all Ivy League tight end wear it. University of Washington tight end wore it in the Rose Bowl 2 years ago. So they're catching passes and doing all kinds of things with the collar.
that's awesome.
So I'd like to invite everybody who's listening to turn on your camera if you can, because we'll be as awesome for you. If we can see you, that helps everybody's energy. And I really would invite you, drop some questions over in the chat, drop them in the Q&A. I have more and we can keep going, but I want to make sure that this is serving you, that it's serving you with your project and any obstacle that you need to overcome, because we're going to dive into that a little bit. We're on big course corrections, right? Like we've all had a course correction. And then the other thing that I really wanted to ask everybody is, was there any area of your product development that was harder than the others? Giuseppe, I know
What do you mean
y'all had
harder
some,
than the others? What do you mean
Well-
harder than the others? What?
or any pieces that you hit speed bumps when you were developing, right? Jeff, Loop Rope is a simpler product than, say, Infintech's Zuby with electronics. So did you hit a challenge and how did you get past it?
Well,
That's that big.
I guess I'll answer that one. You know, throughout the entire product development process, there was all kinds of hurdles we had to overcome. And, you know, besides the language barrier, you know, it is produced in overseas, and the time difference of me taking my trips out there and just getting the electronics perfect, because this is a product that is designed to save babies' lives. That means it can't fail. And if it does, then, you know, not good for us, right? So, you know, I mean, there was a time, and it's really trying to get the factory to also take accountability too. And it's, you know, and with the culture difference, it's a, you know, it's all on me, and that's what it comes down to. And so there was a point where, you know, every production, there was some sort of, you know, it goes back to the pivoting, right? That pivot became my friend. And my friend word, right, is like everything was a pivot. And it always reminded me of when in the episode of Friends, when Ross is moving the couch up the stairs and he's on pivot. So I do that all the time, because you know, it makes the pivot a little more enjoyable. But you know, there was a time where I had a whole batch where at the time we ordered about 3,000 units, but we ordered 2,250, and then within the same production we ordered another 750. Well, the factory said yes, they can do it, but they skipped on some of the products, or the testing of the products, that 750 were bad. I mean, 100% of it was bad, and like, oh crap, what am I supposed to do here? And so I had to pivot and figure it out, and here I am taking apart, you know, monitors and cameras, which, you know, I'm pretty technical, but this is like electrical engineering stuff that, you know, coming from a small company, we don't have an engineering firm. This is, you know, this is all you know, my wife and I and a few employees, but none of us are engineers, where, you know, we went and get a degree on engineering, and that's our career. And so here I am trying to figure this out, and I'm taking apart all these different products. Like, okay, which part is different here? What's not working? Why is this not working? And it ended up being this little tiny thing. It's probably almost the size of a rice. I don't know what do you call the rice bead? You know,
A grain thing?
The grain. It was actually probably a couscous. That's how big it was. And they cut corners on that. And so I had them just send me a batch. So they send me a roll of those things, and I was there doing it myself. And so it's, you know, the challenge is just making sure the electronics work. So we had to implement third-party QCs, and you know, we have a phenomenal team out there that, you know, they're on the floor and they're doing it for us. So, and they give us the reports, they make sure that everything works. And you know, we ended up having to pivot and resolve everything that we could, but luckily you know, it wasn't devastating to where, you know, God forbid, you know, a parent was depending on our, you know, our product, and it failed on them, you know, like we did last week. So, you know, that didn't, but yeah, it's just getting the electronics working. And you know, if you deal with factories out in overseas, it's always the next time. It's like, no, there is no next time. You got to get it right this time. And that's one thing that you got to really keep on top of. And that's basically
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
You know, I know when Loop Rope was starting, right, the first big order from the overseas factory, you know, we were looking at samples, and I remember Jeff, you and I, like, oh, there'd been approvals already given and already signed off. Do you remember this? Do you remember meeting up at Universal and handing off product? And I'm going like, no, this isn't right.
Yeah, it's slipping, and it was, yeah. I mean, I know it's just a bungee cord. You know, I didn't invent anything. You know, it's shock cord crimped together with ferrules. Everything's already on the market, and you know, but when I put it together, it's goes together a particular way and such that I have patents on it, design and utility patents. And, but yeah, go ahead, Jeffrey.
You build a better mousetrap.
Yeah, it's a better
That's what you
mousetrap.
did.
But
And
we, you know, we all have issues, it's a bungee cord. So the shit that comes back is just shitty bungee cord, and it just roasts in the sun. It just was melting on people, and whoa, that was expensive. And it was, so no matter what you're putting together, you have a way you want to be put together, each of you, all of us. And it's very difficult to communicate that.
I was very, very fortunate in my experience. And it's simply because when I was in the prototype phase and I would talk to some salesmen that were in, sports medical and sports supplies and that kind of thing, I ran into a gal that said she knew a product engineer that could take my product from start to finish to manufacturing ready. And I met with the guy, and I'd had 2 people working on my CAD drawings before. And I went to him and he looked at the CADs. He goes, "These aren't manufacturing ready."
Yeah.
And he knew all the ins and outs with regards to the steel molds and how the molds are made and what need to be made. So I was very blessed. And he was a guy that took me from just, the CAD drawing and my second prototype to market with a finished product that worked. And the only thing we did, it's hard to do everything in America, and I agree. And I don't know if we could do it now, but the only thing we did overseas in China was have the molds made.
Yeah.
And so we also, to protect ourselves, we had our, what our product was manufactured out of, the raw materials, we had them sent over to China. So our high density polyethylene was sent over to them to make the collars. So,
Wow.
but
Wow.
I feel blessed in that standpoint that I had a guy that was really, really good. And I encourage people, if you are inventing something, don't be afraid to seek those people out. Talk to people in your area, tell them what you need. There's always somebody that knows somebody that can help you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, whoever's listening on the other end of this, we don't want to sound all doom and gloom. We've all been doing this for like 5, 6, 10, 11 years. It is possible to achieve your dream. It's just a lot of work, basically, is what we're all talking about here.
Yeah. And, I think that it's not all about doom and gloom for
No.
us. It's always like, well, who are the team members that you need? Right. Like there's always other people to involve. And I think it's really important to have good manufacturing partners, whether they're here in the US or they're overseas. But Tracey, I know you have really found a manufacturer that you loved and that really helped you as you were preparing for HSN. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of your preparations?
Well, I'm listening to Jeff. I was just thinking, CAD drawings. Now that's probably the right way to do it. I think about when I still do this. So now I've got some things to change, but my biggest challenge is just going back to the original question, was just how to communicate exactly what I wanted. And I would start just with an email, because everything was communicated via email. We don't jump on calls or Zooms. So just trying to be as specific and clear as possible in those emails. And there was a disconnect. We would always end up with something very different. So then I was thinking, okay, well, maybe if I send images with the email to give you an idea of exactly what I'm looking for, maybe that'll help. And so I've had to go through so many iterations of the product samples to get to to what I really, really wanted, because I didn't know that process of having the CAD drawings. I was just going based on, this is just an idea I have, and it should be easy for me to tell you what it is, and hope that you can just create it. And when it did not work that way at all for me, and I'm still growing and learning. We've gotten to a place now where we know each other a lot better. So they know what I like and what I don't like, but there's still that process of aligning and making sure that I'm communicating it clearly, concisely, in a way that they can understand it. But you know, I think it's just a work in progress. But the CAD drawings, I'm going to take that one with me and hopefully incorporate that down the road. But you know, it's a lot. The biggest challenge for me is just the communication piece and knowing exactly what to say and how to say it.
Yeah, and you know, I'm gonna add something here. When you were preparing for the new product that you just launched, right? And we were talking about the colors, right? So when you're dealing with a line, some of you may have multiple styles of things or different colors. I know Selena's got a pillow line. And so when you're dealing with different colorways, which is the official technical word for color combinations, it's really important to pick the ones that resonate with the account that you're trying to sell to, right? HSN, their consumer is a particular kind of profile. And Tracey, what was the tool that we used to test and survey some people? You remember?
Yeah, PickFu, I think is how you pronounce it. And that is, it's like the best online polling platform ever. You've got to be, as with everything else, you got to communicate exactly what feedback you're trying to get. But you can select the demographics of the people that will actually give you the answers. You can select, locations, like where they are in the United States. And there's so many different features that you can select and choose from. And you'll literally get feedback within minutes of posting those polling questions, which is great. So you can see that people are engaging right away. So you'll end up with, I think on average, 50 responses, which is a really nice sample size. And that's what we use to narrow down the colors, like you said, for our HSN, for the trio when we're introducing new colors. So I've gone and used PickFu probably 3 or 4 times since, just to test out a number of things from pricing to product ideas. So it's a great resource to use, and it's affordable.
It's very affordable. I mentioned this to Tracey when we were in the process. And so I wanted to make sure that we talk about it a little bit tonight, because I want you to walk out of today with some tools, right? If you're developing a product, what are some tools that you can bring to the party for yourself that aren't going to break the bank? PickFu runs like $50 for a survey. It's really inexpensive. And like she's talking about, you can test on a lot of different variables. You can do colors, you can do prices, you can do, would you buy this? Would you not buy it? And they're from strangers, right? It's not that you have to have an email list. You can actually run surveys to your email list if you have one, but you can also do it to strangers where you get actual more legit information. If you're surveying people that know you, and they know that it's your product, they don't want to hurt your feelings. So frequently they'll just tell you how great something is, which isn't necessarily what you need to hear in that moment. You need someone to tell you which one they would actually buy and how much they would pay for it, right? So some of those things. So it's PickFu, which is PickFu. I'd really recommend you take a look at it if you're developing products. So there's that. And let's see. And can we put, oh, great. Tracey, thanks for dropping the link in the chat. Awesome. So I'd love to make sure that we're handling questions that you care about that help you. We've got about another 20 minutes of everybody being here. I know Jeff Dahl needs to jump, and so does Giuseppe. But so what are your questions? Pop them in the chat window, pop them in the Q&A. I've got my eye on both of them.
We'll look for some questions. If anybody has any, that'd be great. You know where my first prototype came from?
Where?
Alibaba. Before that guy hit the big time. I mean, that was a brand new website. I submitted. I got a prototype out of Alibaba back about like 11 years ago. And then
everybody, we talked about a little bit about the doom and gloom. I want everybody out there to know that if you can't see the passion in the 5 people that are talking to you with you about this tonight, if you have a passion for something and you believe in it, go for it. Because I can tell you right now, everybody that's there and did this, and I know Amy, if you believe in it, it can happen, and there are ways to do it. I mean, we have 5 distributors, which don't make a lot of sales for us, but just like the names, image, likenesses rule that came out, we took that and we set up an affiliate program for every college kid that wears our collar that wants to join us. We've set up a QR code for them that anybody that puts that QR code in, they get $50 from our collar. And so it's a way for them to make money, but we don't have to pay them a lot of money. I mean, we're not trying to do something like these people out there that are giving some of these college kids $500,000. You know, Jamie Skolsky is an All-American, and he's basically doing it for nothing. I mean, for $50 a collar. And we offered him 75, and he's taking $25 a collar and sending it to his high school.
Yeah, he's doing it to save his noggin.
Yeah, you know, and he's getting it out there to his high school. He sells one because he's donating $25 to a group that he cares about. So there are ways to do things.
That's awesome. And so, you know what, there's a question that has come up for me as we've been talking, you know, because we're kind of morphing into well, how have you done it when it comes to, say, the investment, or how do you think differently about your marketing, right? Like, Jeff Chanbers, you're talking a little bit about kind of an affiliate marketing and how you're using influencers. And I know, Giuseppe, you've had influencers, you've had different ways that you've marketed. Jeff Dahl, I remember you giving a loop rope to somebody in a security line at an airport back in the day, right?
Yeah,
And Tracey,
I just gave away a loop rope the other day. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Tracey, I know this is something that we've been talking about a little bit with that one really big name travel guy that I'm not going to mention yet. But so how do you think about your marketing? How did you do that? Do you have any tips or insights there?
I can start a little bit on that, but it's so when we first started with our product and going out to figure out how to get the word out, besides just word of mouth, we tried to say, oh, let's go and do some sort of a commercial on TV, and we found that was ridiculous. The price for 3 markets instead of 3 markets in the United States was well over like 25 grand at the time, and that's when we got into the social media. And really, what we found is a combination of Google ads and Facebook ads. And unfortunately with Facebook, it they and the whole Apple thing, like a few months ago, it kind of we had to pivot on that to figure out how to still get the audience that we wanted, but with the whole algorithm change here there. So Facebook actually also includes Instagram. So they have their algorithms, and depending if you're what you're putting into Facebook, it'll allocate a portion of that into Instagram. So videos, definitely these days are videos. I mean, you can have still pictures, but having videos, our website is off of Shopify. I don't know why we didn't do that in the first place, but we went from WordPress to Wix to Shopify, and Shopify just has all, it starts charging, there's always these fees with all these plugins, but at the end of the day, there's this one influencer program that you can put in. It's called Shout Out. Doesn't cost me anything, but I can start targeting moms and parents out there to, if they're at home and they just want to make a quick buck here and there, they can start throwing, they can sign up and be a affiliate and So really what it comes down to is just social media marketing and influencers and having your own foot soldiers out there. It's the way to go. And you can do that with the bootstrap mentality, because, it just got to be resourceful. A lot of the stuff you got to do on your own sometimes. So as an entrepreneur, I'll tell you, my wife and I joke about this all the time. We wear like 10 hats each, and we're trying to run the business, but then we're the financiers, we're the CFOs, we're the marketing people. But at the end of the day, that's what we do, and we know that, hey, it's for us. It's not for, I'm not getting anyone else change or money. This is our baby, and this is what we got to do. So like even right now, I'm a web designer tonight, so it is what it is. We figure things out, and it might take me 4 hours to figure something out, but at the end of the day, it's done, and I don't get any flack for it, because she knows I'm doing it because I'm trying to learn. So.
Yeah, so you're adding to your skill set. And just so everybody knows, Lizette, Giuseppe's wife, Lizette, is a licensed attorney. So, leaning on the skill sets that your team has and filling in the gaps. And there's always the balancing act of how much is it going to cost you in terms of time to learn the skill versus, is this when you need to go hire? Right? Is this when you need to go buy somebody's experience while you're learning? We've had things where ad campaigns, one person who was becoming a client, they had 2,000 people visit their webpage and 0 sales out of 2,000 people. So, in our first conversation, I was like, oh my gosh, turn off your ads. You are flushing money. Don't do it. And in 5 days, we made changes to their website, and they turned their ads back on, and they made their first sales in 5 hours after that. And that was with a teeny tiny ad budget. So you really need to pay attention. I just want to also mention one thing, because right now you have an opportunity to get TikTok ads very inexpensively. And TikTok's where a younger market is going to be. So Giuseppe, I would give you that tip if you have not looked at TikTok ads yet.
Yeah, we actually just started TikTok ads. What day we're in Friday? Yeah, it was actually later last week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we were TikTok with videos. We got some videos up. It's a little tricky getting used to TikTok, but at the end of the day, it's pretty good. We might be shifting some of a portion of our ad budget from Facebook to TikTok.
Yeah, Facebook's ad performance has really tanked, and even the group engagement. So the ads have gotten expensive in Facebook is what I'm saying. And they're very inexpensive over in TikTok. We actually have 3 different places that we're looking into for some TikTok things. So if anybody's interested in that kind of information, connect with me over on LinkedIn, and or get a discovery call booked, and we'll keep you in the loop about it. I just dropped my links over in the chat. So Tracey, and I know we've talked a little bit about marketing in here. Jeff, did you have something to add?
Well, I'm going to have to be zipping out of here real quick, but I'll try just speaking to the marketing thing, since people are asking about that, is again, I invented loop rope 11 years ago. My first product on a shelf was a local Ace Hardware, and it was just a loop rope all bunched together, and I zip tied it, and I attached my business card, and I didn't experience any sales whatsoever. It was terrible. I thought, what do I do now? So what I did, and this was in Medford, Oregon, was I started radio campaigns locally. There's my packaging. It was actually worse than that. It was literally that rope zip tied together with a business card attached to it. And then that was second phase right there, Amy. Thank you for showing me that. I don't even have that I don't even have that one. So thank you.
If you want a picture, I'm happy to send it. This is the first package, and then this is buoy rope. This is the first.
Item. Yeah, buoy rope. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So here, we'll
So,
do side by sides.
yeah, yeah, the progression. So I was like experiencing zero sales, and but all the while I was guerrilla marketing. I mean, I used to cruise the parking lots at Home Depot and Ace Hardware and stuff with loop rope in hand, and be looking for somebody that was tie down challenge, whether they're tying down a barbecue and they're just trying to tie knots or whatever. And I'd jump out, introduce myself. I should have had all this stuff on videotape. But I would jump out and introduce myself and say at the end of this demonstration, I'm going to give it to you, you know, so nobody ever said anything other than sure. So I would demonstrate it and give them the rope, and whether I went and bought another or whatever, I don't know, but that's what I did. So when they were hanging in Blackbird and not really selling zip tied up with a business card, I started radio campaign, and I was telling people, because radio ads you can buy real cheap. And that's where I started. I just started buying radio, telling people about it, came up with creative scripts about, you know, how bungee cords are dangerous and they're a pain in the ass and this and that. And I probably did, I don't know, 15 radio ads. And all of a sudden people started going to Blackbird, buying them. Then Waterworld, the boat store, called me up and say, hey, I hear you on radio. Why don't you put us on radio and bring your product over here? So I just started expanding locally just by doing these radio ads, and almost put pressure on local retailers to just take it because people would come in and ask for it. So that's really how I started. And then from there, in my link, I gave you there's a link to a commercial that just started on TV Monday. It's on like the military channel, the hunting channel. It's a 2-minute spot. It shouldn't be too boring, but tells you everything about loop rope. But it's 12 years later, and I finally found somebody that took the product, licensed it. I'm in a royalty situation. They produced that TV commercial. It's on the air just as of Monday this week. They're going to do a huge Dish Network push with it, and these guys are sold out loop ropers. So I think hopefully my legacy will stick with these guys, because they bought all my inventory. They've completely taken it over, and they're excited about it. The guy that the Canella Media, if you look at Rob, he was on the Snuggie, and he told me personally, he said, I haven't seen a product this useful or this exciting since the Snuggie. And Snuggie was kind of a one-hit wonder with all those sales, and they don't see loop rope as just like a big spike. It's an everyday use product, so it's a long-term brand. And but radio is where I started, and it was cheap.
There are a couple other
Google
things.
AdWords, all that SEO and all that stuff. I've spent so much money trying to get people to rank you on Google, all this stuff. And, you know, I don't know where all the rest of you are, but I've spent a ton of money on that stuff and didn't really get me far.
There's other street smart things you did, Jeff. So I remember you did a billboard on a main interstate. You got like a really good price on that. You actually had wasn't it NASCAR? You had a friend who's a NASCAR driver. You sponsored the car and had it on the hood of the car. So you worked your connections. You worked connections really well.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm all about loop rope. Everybody, like Kevin was saying, Jeffrey was saying, you know, if you're passionate about it, you're not going to go a whole day without telling somebody about what you're doing if you're seriously passionate about it.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Passion will win the day, especially when you're in the early stages of something, because what you need to do is actually be talking to a lot of people.
A lot of people. Yeah.
And you need to just not be in sales mode, but be in the mode of
marketing. Marketing and sales. You always got to be marketing. And we're all selling something.
Yeah. And, you know, one of my tips for you would be, if you're giving a product to somebody like, you know, Jeff did in the parking lot of Home Depot, and they're cool with you doing it, get a video testimonial.
Yeah. Recommended. That's the one regret, was I should have been videotaping all those testimonials, those demos, but what do you do?
So does anybody have
I'm going to hang on a little bit more, but I do have to be leaving unless somebody has other questions. But that was my tip on marketing. Radio is really, really cheap if it fits.
That's awesome. Who else? Do any of you have something to say about sales or distribution? I know that there's that, and I'm scrolling through the chat here. We've got a couple of questions over here. There's a question about crowdfunding campaigns. from James. But if anybody wants to take on the marketing piece, anything that you've done that worked or didn't work, that'd be awesome.
I can share a few things because I've definitely taken a low budget route starting out, but some things that I've found to be useful for me are in-person events. I've done a ton of those pop-ups. So it gives you an opportunity to engage with people. They can see the product, touch it, feel it, see what it's really about. And I use those as opportunities to collect information, email addresses. So that's helped me to build my email list quite a bit because there's a lot of data that suggests that's the most affordable, I think, way of marketing. The return on it is a lot higher than investing in some of the paid ads. So I've really been working on the building the email list. I've had some success with giveaways. Giving away a product for people to sign up either through the website or following us on Instagram and Facebook. And those have netted some sales. It's also, again, another great way to build your list. I've also had some success with co-promotes. So there are some other brands that have a stronger following than I do. And it gives you an opportunity to get in front of their audience and vice versa. And that helps to build up your Instagram following as well as increase opportunities for sales. And then I think the last thing, we talked, I think someone mentioned the videos. Giuseppe mentioned that, and I found that to be the case with me as well. Anytime we post a video or reels on Instagram, we see an uptick in viewers, sales will come in. I mean, I'm not saying they flood in, but that's where we really have gotten most of our sales on Instagram was through the Instagram reels and the videos. So there's definitely a lot to say about the video piece. So those are just some low budget ways to get the word out about the product and then just get in front of more customers. So just thought I'd share some of those things.
Oh, that's awesome. I have another question specifically for you, Tracey, that you've done really well at, but I want to take a minute because I know Jeff Dahl needs to leave. So Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. If anybody wants to say goodbye, feel free, unmute yourself.
Nice talking to all you guys. Jeff, you hope I can get your caller on Kyle Phillips and Coda for you. So I'll be in touch with you guys. Amy, thank you for the invite.
From the Inventors Forum, thank you for being here.
Welcome. Thank you.
I've kept my video kind of strange because I'm showing you on the other link because some of the people didn't make the transition, but I finally got it turned around to facing me. Thank you so much. Great product. And we'll look forward to staying in touch with you and go buy it. Sure. Yes.
Anytime. Right. Thank you for having me, Amy. Appreciate it.
Absolutely,
I will follow up
Jeff.
with you, Jeff.
Yeah. Good luck to all you guys. Sounds like everybody's got cool stuff. So thank you very much. Good luck on HSN.
Always good to see you, Jeff. Talk to you
Thank
soon.
You. Aloha.
So everybody, we'll keep going here. And Mark, for everybody who's over on the other Zoom link, when we wrap up here, I'm happy to jump over there and take questions as well. So, I'm yours for the evening. Okay. And okay. Giuseppe, do you need to bounce too?
Yeah, I got to jump out too. I actually just wanted to leave somebody one word of advice that I would give entrepreneurs that are getting their product. When we first started on, we were going straight to retailers, and that when we look back, I think for me, one of the advice is go direct to consumer. Going direct to consumer, not only do you not have to worry about all that all these margins that they want, they want to cut 30, 50, 60% for them, but it leaves more money in your pocket so you can do the marketing, do what you need, because when you go looking for them, then you're at their mercy. But when you start going to consumer and you build your product and you build that momentum going, they're going to come to you. And when they come to you, you dictate what you want to do and what you want to get. So that's just one of my word advice is go direct to consumer first, build up your website, because that's, go on Amazon if you have to. And that's where you're going to get more of your momentum and spend the money on your business.
Yeah, that it's really good perspective, and it's changed a lot over the years, right? When you started, it was a lot harder to go D2C, right? I've actually got a new blog that we've put up about direct to consumer selling. There's a new podcast that'll be coming up next week about it, because there is a strategy about blending your direct to consumer and then building it into the retail. So I think that's a really important piece. And when people try to go straight to stores only, it can be challenging because of the philosophy of how retail has changed. But keep in mind that still, even after the pandemic, we did digital transformation accelerated 3 to 5 years in the first 2 months of the pandemic. That means that more and more people were using it, right? And at this point, it accelerated 10 years in the length of the pandemic. So the switch has been profound. And the statistics are that still 70% of sales across all categories are happening in stores. Now, if you are a food product, like our client nut pots up there, it's really important for them to be in grocery stores. So it does depend on your product. It does depend on the category. So keep that in mind. But, Giuseppe, you bring up a really great point. It leaves a lot of budget in your pocket to do other things. So you have to think strategically. It's kind of where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah.
And
also, I'm not discounting being on the shelves, because that gives you the eyeballs that you need as well for legitimacy, if you want to look at it. But building your reputation, your brand, and getting that momentum going, so you can get there and expand your business. I mean, there was one baby stroller, Peg Perego, that I remember. All they did was online and they were multi-million-dollar company that all they did was online on their website, and they were able to build that up. I mean, also there was another company, Outlet, that is also another baby product that, they just went public and sold off, but the original CEO, which I was good friends with, they were just on their website, and they built that up to a $30 million company just on their website alone before they went to Target and all these other big box stores. And that's, so there's ways to get to where you want to go with going online only, going with but you do want to also get to the big boxes, but you want to be able to sustain yourself prior to being at their mercy. So,
And Giuseppe, before you go, can I, this will kind of dovetail with Tracey. I know that Infintech has used certifications and different network groups, like the Hispanic Chamber and some of the programs over at USC. So can you talk a little bit about your thinking on the certifications?
Myself?
Yeah, I know. And then we'll move to Tracey next for that.
Yeah, for sure. So we got our minority woman-owned business. My wife is the CEO, and everything's under her status. So that way, that opens up a lot of doors with the retailers to where they're looking for the minority, the woman-owned business, and there's 5 categories: minority, women, handicap, military, and I think LGBTQ. So if you fall in any of those categories, go get your certification. We use the NMSDC, which is National Minority Supplier Development. I don't know the actual acronym, but that's one. Is WOMS, Women-Owned Business Supplier. That's WOBMS. So you utilize those so that way they can open up doors to retailers if, that's the avenue you want to go. And we're still working, we're actually on a process to renew the certification, because every year you got to renew it. They want to make sure that you're still owned by a woman, that they still own majority shares and all that stuff. So definitely, if you want some information, we've gone through the process. It's the WOMB is pretty, it was a little more tedious than the other one, but at the end of the day, I end up doing all that because that's my strength. So but it does, if you need it, just hit me up on LinkedIn or something, and we'll chat.
Oh, thank you so much. And Giuseppe, thanks for stopping in today and
For sure.
answering some questions and sharing your background and some of your story. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, much love. I'll see you guys later.
Oh,
Thank you, Giuseppe.
Thank you. Take care.
so Tracey, I know you've been really active with your WeBank certifications, women-owned business, etc. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that served you?
Sure. I think my experiences have been similar to what Giuseppe was saying. So I've got my WBE, or the Women's Business Enterprise certification through WeBank, the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. And I also have my MBE, the Minority Business Enterprise certification through MSDC, as you mentioned earlier. And I would definitely say it's helped with both opportunities, both HSN and Walgreens. And actually the Walgreens came about because I was involved in a local, it's not really a chapter, but the Women's Business Development Center here in Chicago is the Midwest arm of WeBank. And so they help you get your certification, but then they also provide a ton of resources, just crazy resources like coaching, webinars, all just like the fundamentals of starting a business, but then even more advanced level. They have all kinds of accelerator programs. And I was actually in one program, it's called Top Shelf. And it was an 8-week intensive for small businesses with physical products that are interested in getting into retail, just really to learn more about the retail space. Walgreens was a sponsor of that program. And as part of the program, we went through everything from, developing our pitch to understanding what our unique selling proposition was. And at the end of the 8 weeks, we were told, okay, we'll prepare to present to some buyers. They had Ace Hardware, they had 2 other buyers that would just come in and listen to our pitches. But the idea was, okay, this is for practice so that at least when you get in front of a buyer, you know what you should say and how to say it. So don't go in with expectations other than just getting feedback. And what ended up happening was I was in the middle of my pitch product, getting that developed. I mean, I still had the first prototype, and I pitched it and they actually liked it. So that's what got me in the door of Walgreens, having my WB certification, being involved in that program, and and being prepared. I think that was the other part. So I've gotten a lot out of not just being certified, but being involved in the organizations that are there to help support women-owned or minority-owned businesses, because they recognize there's a need there. And so I tell anybody, for sure, and this is something that somebody told me early on, is as soon as you start your business, get certified. I mean, even if you're not making any sales, but the best time to certify is at the early stages, because then you don't have to worry about a ton of the financials and all of that. It's just an easier process. So I did that, and it's served me well. So I am a big proponent of certification.
Yeah, and Tracey and I actually met the first time ever in a Zoom meeting from the National Association of Women Business Owners, which is NABO. So if you're a woman in business, I highly recommend NABO. It was the new member orientation, and I randomly dropped some information in the chat window, and Tracey randomly read it. And we ended up having a discovery conversation. And I think the words that you said were like, oh my gosh, I feel so seen, that it was this moment, right? So being active in associations makes a big difference. We only work with people that we resonate, that we feel like we can really serve. And so when you're active in organizations, you actually have enough time and capacity with each other to get to know each other as human beings as well as business, right? So that makes a big difference. So some of the certifications, you can actually get the certification through the city of Los Angeles and the county of Los Angeles. So if you're in a different area, check with your local government. Those can be a little cheaper to get, faster, easier. WeBank has a verification process because they do want to make sure that you are 100, like that you are legitimately women-owned business. You have to be 51%. Okay. And the veterans, same thing. Minority-owned business certification, same thing. So there will be some pieces. One thing that hasn't been brought up about it is that when you are certified, that makes you eligible for supplier diversity programs. And that's not just with retailers. So if you are a certified business and you are qualified to get paid out of supplier diversity money, that's a separate bucket of money. That's a separate budget item that large corporations need to spend. Hear that. They need to spend it. How about it be with you? The way to get qualified is to be certified. So there's supplier diversity program managers with a lot of large corporations, everybody from hotels to Frontier Communications cable company. So get yourself paid out of a different bucket that lets them check something off as a performance piece, can be a nice way to get in the door. So let's see, with that, as we kind of round out, we've been going a long time. I just want to move to the future piece for this last question from Jeff and Tracey. When you look 5 years ahead for your business, 5 years from now, what goals do you want to have accomplished?
So it's a tough question from the standpoint of where I'm at right now. What I believe that when we're successful, from what I'm trying to do with introducing new technology and a new way to see how to prevent brain injury, is that there will be a whole new market and a whole new wave of safety equipment for sports, especially in the helmeted activities, to prevent concussions and save brains. So I believe that when my product becomes successful, it's going to lead to other products that are trying to do the same thing. We'll have more than one or two companies making a safety device that will become a safety system of helmet, shoulder pad, collar, and there will be more than just 3 companies that are protecting brains in sport-related activities, which is basically what it is in football. Three helmet companies. There's only 2 or 3 hockey companies that make helmets. That it will open up the market to better safety equipment for the brain. I also want to add here right now, before we get off, for anybody that's looking at investors, the one thing I've learned in my process, and I want people to know, I met Amy for the first time. I don't know if you remember this, but Damon Launch Academy in Vegas.
Yeah.
But I want people to be aware that you will run into people that will come to you and say, I can get you in front of investors. I can get you in front of Brett Favre. I can do this. And they will want money up front. I can tell you that we have spent money up front and have not got in front of one person with the money to invest. So be careful of that and do your homework. Because that's one thing that I learned. And I now, when those people come to me, I basically tell them that if they can get me in front of an investor and do what they say they can do, and I can close the deal, I'll give them 5%. But I never pay anybody up front anymore.
Yeah, for investor introductions, it's a tough thing, you know, because you're talking specifically about that.
Yes, and make sure they're qualified to do it.
Yeah, and how you structure it, really important piece, how you structure it, depending on the state that you're in, you may or may not be able to legally do the deal the way you think you can. So you really have to pay attention to how you're setting that up. So thanks for bringing that up, Jeff. I really appreciate that. And I remember the event. It's the one where I was speaking on stage with Damon John. Yeah, one of those. Yeah, I did a few of them. So Tracey, looking ahead 5 years, what would you like to have accomplished with Ms. J?
That's a good question. There's so much that I'd like to do with the brand. I think that there's a great opportunity. More women are traveling than ever before, especially now that we're not even out of the pandemic, but we can see that there's that pent up demand and people are trying to get back to travel. And I think there's an opportunity. There's a gap in travel accessories that are specifically for women. And I want to help to fill that gap. And there's so many ideas that I have that I think can benefit women, help them stay organized and do it in a fashionable, stylish way while they're on the go. So I'd like to continue to build on the brand, adding new products. I'd love to see where the partnership with Walgreens and HSN can go. I want to end up in airports. I think that would be a great place for my products. And at some point, I mean, I would love to be in a position where I could sell the business, because my ultimate goal would be to help other women. Because this is, you know, there are great benefits to being a business owner, and I would not trade it for the world. It's hard work. It really is, and especially trying to do it by yourself. I have found, you know, it's not wise. It's not wise to do it on your own. Hence, like, you know, reaching out to Amy and other people, and I'd like to be at some point one of those people that other women can reach out to, and women that I can help support, whether it's in investing in their businesses or helping to invest in training programs. So there's so much that I'd like to accomplish above and beyond the business in 5 years, 10 years. So I think the sky's the limit, really.
Yeah. And how many more countries would you like to add to your visited list?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's endless. Endless.
Everyone, that is a massive, massive passion of Tracey's, is travel and seeing different cultures and all of that entails and gives you. So yeah, if you've got any suggestions, feel free, drop them in the chat for Tracey if there's a place she's just got to go. So that absolutely makes sense. And we were talking about that it is possible. And I wanted to remind us all, you know, Sarah Blakely, recent exit, wasn't at one point, it was either 1.3 or $1.6 billion. It took her 20 years. No mistaking. It took her time and effort and trips back and forth from New York to Atlanta because of, you know, her husband Jesse's businesses were in New York. And there's a lot that went into that. And it's possible, right? It's possible. She started with a pair of pantyhose that she cut the feet off of. That was her first prototype. So never forget that, right? That where you are now isn't where you're ending up. And that however things look now doesn't have to dictate where you're going and what they're going to look like later. It's a choice. to stay in the game, like Jeff was talking about, being proud that they stayed in the game through the tough parts. We've all had things that didn't go according to plan where we needed to stay in the game. And bring in different team members. I know, Jeff, you've got team members that you work with that you've brought in. Tracey, we're working together. I have team members, behind the scenes that make things go for me. It's never just you if you're going to be successful, ever. So keep that in mind. Do you have any last tips or words of wisdom for everybody?
I do. Believe. One of my sayings at our office, couple guys I've worked with, one of the guys is let's go, and mine is keep believing. Believe not only in yourself, but have faith that, my faith is in the Lord. And I know that this has been given to me and presented to me for a purpose. And there are times that it's tough, but believe in yourself and believe that it can happen. And I say that no matter what anybody tells you different, because if you have what you believe in and you have the passion for it, it's going to happen at some point in time. God has a plan for what's going on with our device because it works.
That's awesome. Tracey, last words of wisdom here.
I would definitely ditto what Jeff just said. Really, I think that's more than half the battles is knowing and believing, and then not letting other people. You mentioned this before too, Jeff, and it's worth repeating. Not allowing other people's opinions or thoughts about what you're doing to get in the way. But the one other tip that I wish I knew or learned early on was, don't just assume that you know what products people want. During my pivot, I made the mistake of just saying, oh, I'll just do X. So I created this other product without getting any input from customers. I just knew that they would want it, and it was a flop. So I was like, okay, we're not doing that again. So that's when I started to the next iteration was, okay, ask the consumer that's ultimately going to pay for it. And from that point on, I have never steered away from that. It's just getting feedback. I just did a focus group not too long ago. I used the PICFU, just making sure I'm not making the decision on my own, that I really am making sure that the consumer, it's something that they would actually want and pay their money for.
Right. And I remember, pulling out the Pantone book and going through colors with you of like, what should it be? What direction? And let's not get too crazy. What do people who travel need? Right. And so really putting the hat of the consumer on. Like,
And
what are they at?
I want to ditto what she said about focus groups, because when we started, we thought it was going to be moms. And we did a couple focus groups with moms and parents, and asked them, they understood the concussion dilemma. When we asked them what they did about it, they all said, well, we go talk to the coach. So they don't know, it was too big to know what to do. They go to the coach to find out. So to get to some of the moms, we have to get to the coaches. So the focus, you mentioned focus group, and I just thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so where can everybody go to find out more about what you're doing? Can you drop a link in the chat as we wrap up here? And if anybody's got a live question, wants to open up a phone line for one last thing, we're happy to do that. And Mark, I'm also happy to bounce over to the other Zoom room and answer questions there if that serves people. We really want to make sure that if people walk out with something that forwards them into 2022 in a really powerful and inspired state. So Jeff, thanks for the link. I see that over in the chat.
I also put my link on there. We are involved in a net capital campaign. So it's up there farther in the chat. So
Awesome. If
Amy.
anybody wants to save the chat, you can certainly do that. There should be over in the chat window, if you've never saved a chat in Zoom for some reason, you've missed that in the last 20 some months. There's 3 little dots near where you type a comment. You just click that and it'll pop up a thing where you can save the chat. So I'd encourage you to do that. My contact info is in there. If you want to get in touch or connect on LinkedIn, you can certainly do it. So I'm going to save the chat myself. And we do have it recorded as well, Mark. So if that serves your people, I'm happy to supply the recording.
Very good.
So
Let me, Amy, thank you for the offer there. Let me let you finish up this meeting and I will ask on the other meeting.
perfect.
If
So
that is helpful, yeah.
yeah, and I know that we've got some questions about crowdfunding that have been put in, but everybody, I really, really want to take a minute and thank Jeff and Tracey. They are joining us from Central Time, so it is 11 o'clock their time, and they have hung in. And so thank you to both of you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me. Thank you. Nice meeting you too, Tracey.
Same here, Jeff. This is my pleasure, Amy.
Thank you guys for joining.
Thank you.
So
Thanks for having us.
so I'll take some more questions if you two want to bounce, if you want to stay. It's completely up to you. I know it's super late at the end of a long week.
All right, I'll see you.
Yep.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So there was a question about crowdfunding campaigns from, I want to say it was James. James, yes. Are you still here? Let me see. Oh yeah, James is here. So really quickly about a crowdfunding campaign and this, your friend who wanted to raise 150K before the campaign for Kickstarter. Kickstarter, when it started, it was the place to go to have things discovered. Now it's not so much that, it's really build the pond and then launch your campaign into the pond is the way that we think about it. We've had 5 clients successfully fund on Kickstarter. We've done quite a bit with how to do the communication. Matter of fact, Nut Pods up there, this product, used Kickstarter when they started out. They're now on the Inc. 5000 list in top 20 position. So, or at least they were when they made the list. They've now did not apply for it last year. They were actually really busy. The company is valued at somewhere around, I think it's $35 million now. So they are a client from kitchen table to Inc. 5000 list. So Kickstarter, as far as raising your first 30K right now, most of the successful Kickstarter campaigns are ones where they're being managed by an agency. There's usually an upfront fee, plus they take a percentage of the money that you raise. So I'm happy to talk a little bit more about how to do that successfully. So yes, it does make sense to, raise some money before Kickstarter. We've also had some people that we've talked with that they actually gave money to friends and family to contribute on their behalf in Kickstarter to get them to a certain point. Technically, that's a violation of the terms of service in the crowdfunding platforms. I don't really recommend it. Plus, it gives you a weird set of metrics, like on your performance. So I hope that makes sense, James, and happy to talk a little bit more about it if anybody wants that. And Susan, I see your
Amy,
question. Yeah.
That brings up a question then. Is there another website now that's more grassroots? Like Kickstarter used to be in there today? Like maybe Indiegogo, maybe another forum like this, but with more actual dig in and like I can show my prototypes, I can work on a project with a crowd and maybe get some funding from them to really get off the bare ground sand bottom of this world.
Yeah, it depends on what the funding is for. The problem that Kickstarter had was with people not delivering on the campaigns. So there's a fiduciary responsibility. All of our clients who used crowdfunding have delivered on their campaign pretty much as promised. We lost one backer for $20 out
Mhm.
of all the campaigns that we've been involved with, because we take it really seriously with our clients. It wasn't, oh, let's just go see. It's like, no, you're making promises to your backers that you are going to do this thing, right? So the way that we went into them as far as what we were budgeting for, what the use of funds was for, and, it was very clear, and it was done with some real forethought into what is the commitment that we're making. So Indiegogo, I've spoken on panels with their founders. It could be viable. GoFundMe, not so great. GoFundMe is more like a social cause or personal impacted something. So I wouldn't really try to do that. And it depends on really what your money is about. Like, what are you trying to use it for? The problem with some Kickstarter campaigns is they're not actually generating enough money to get to the milestone that needs to happen to deliver on the campaign promises. Right. So they get some money in and then they still don't have enough to deliver on it. So they kind of get a little sideways. So that's why Kickstarter has changed some of the structures of things. So for the crowdfunding piece, I would ask him why he's doing a Kickstarter campaign, period. If he's going to raise the 150K, does he need more money? Or is it because he wants the marketing of the Kickstarter velocity? There might be another way to just not have to do it that way. So he's looking to raise $1 million. How much does he need for his project? Do we know?
I don't know. I put the link to his website in the chat. He has these very cool infinity mirrors, both as like a makeup table mirror and as a wearable. They look intensely cool. They are really an exciting product to my mind. And there's great possibility there for all kinds of feature creep to them. I had 5 ideas when I saw them myself, but basically right now it's just a mirror that has the infinity mirror tunnel effect and has LED strips around the edge of the mirror, and you can select different patterns and different colors. And there is a wearable version, which I would love it for it to be thinner than it is. Right now it's about yay thick. So it still has kind of that, are you a nerd kind of vibe to it. Whereas if it could be really flat, just like a fabric, and that's almost certainly possible at some point in the future, it could be even a better product.
Yeah. So I'll take a look at the website, but yeah, feel
But
free.
yeah, he's got all the same problems all of us entrepreneurs will have. He's going to want to get it manufactured in mass, and tons of molded parts and tons of microcontrollers and tons of strips of LEDs are going to have to come in. So he could probably use whatever funds he could get a hold of.
Yeah, he might be able to do a minimum viable product that would be less technical and less cost prohibitive. But feel free, have him contact me for a discovery conversation, and that's my gift to people. It really is like, get to know the project, give some input. Selena and I just spoke on one today, so she can kind of vouch for me that it's like, oh, like what it's of value for you. So there's a link for those over in the chat, and I'm happy to do that. So let me move to Susan's question. Let me scroll back here. I saw Mark. Thank you for jumping in on Susan's question. You're so
May I say, just before you move to somebody else, he will be at Design Con in Los Angeles, if anybody's in Los Angeles for Design Con this weekend, so you can check out his booth. I don't know what his booth number is, but the name of the product is Portal Mirrors. The link is in the chat. Up now. Up.
Portal mirrors. Okay. I wasn't planning on going to Design Con, but that doesn't mean it won't happen. I'm in outside Los Angeles, so I have to go down to Pasadena anyway. So let's see, Susan, we're in the beginning stages of our idea. How does the idea person connect with the designer and the maker of the product on an extreme budget? Totally get that. We've had clients in that situation. The idea is an improved piece of exercise equipment. Thanks for any help. Well, it depends on what the improvement is, first off. And so there's an existing product that you see an improvement on, and you want to know how to find the people who did the existing product?
Well, actually, it's really not out there at all. I found one example of it on YouTube. We called the company. They're not using it anymore at all, and ours would look different anyway. So this is an idea that my fitness instructor has, and he's, I mean, it's very simple and brilliant, and he hasn't seen it around at all.
Yeah, you would start with, personally, I would recommend a patent search, even if you're doing it yourself through Google Patents, just to kind of take a first pass at that. And I'm sure there's people in the Inventors Forum that can guide you for this kind of thing when you're in the really early stages. We do work with early stage projects, but there's so many resources. The Inventors Forum has been around forever, and I love this group. I think what's happening is really good. So I would say connect with Mark, the two Marks that are in this. They can give you a little more guidance on this, and feel free to connect with our website too. We have a lot of content over there on productstoprofits.com.
Okay,
So
thank you.
in the chat.
Thank you. And thank you everybody else for their ideas. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course. So with that, I think we should wrap for the night, because we're at 10 after, believe it or not. Wow. So I just want to open this up to everybody who's here. What's something that you're proud of yourself for from this year? Like, let's celebrate something. What are you proud of?
Hanging in there.
Awesome. Yes, I can get behind that.
That is a good thing. You know, I would say build up connections.
Yeah. Awesome. Susan, what are you proud of yourself for this year?
I haven't really done anything. Well, I'm proud of myself for sort of prodding my very artsy and fitness instructor he's had this idea for like 20 years and he's done nothing with it. So I think it's a very good idea, and I'm proud of myself for being a nag.
I'm proud of you for showing up tonight and, showing up and being in the conversation.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't even know what I'm proud of this year. Yeah, I do. I'm proud of listening to my intuition so much this year and saying yes to the opportunities that just kind of felt aligned and not giving up. Because I have to tell you, this was a year. As a friend of mine said, it felt, she posted something in social media and she goes, wow, this week sure, what was it? This week sure was a month. And that's kind of how it's felt, right? Like, so I'm proud of myself for standing through it and continuing and listening to my intuition. So, Christopher, what about you? What are you proud of yourself for this year?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear
Yep.
me?
We can.
Go ahead.
Okay.
She was going to say something, or I concur with Selena that just hanging in there, but caring for mom, doing volunteer work, Red Cross driver. I fostered a dog for adoption and just caring for mom, but all of those things also went wrong. So it's kind of like back to Selena, just hanging in there, not giving up.
Yeah.
Tina,
Keeping our
she-
eyes
go on.
Okay,
forward.
I have a question. I have
Yeah.
a question. Can you hear me?
I can't.
I'd like to get the websites of the 4 inventors that were on the show tonight so I can take a look at their products.
Absolutely. It should have been in the email from the Inventors Forum. Oh, and you're not in the chat. That's from the other chat room. How about I bounce over there right after this, and I'll put everything in the chat. If you want to stay there, I'll come over to you. How's that?
Okay. How come you haven't seen anything in the chats from where we're at?
Robin, this is Mark. We had a technical difficulty where we had a couple different emails went out, and so I've been low tech showing my phone on the screen here. So that's what you've been watching, and Amy's going to join us in a moment. Okay.
Yeah.
So
the websites I can give them to you. If,
And so I just wanted to get I just want to get contact information for the
Sure.
inventors that were on tonight.
yeah. So for Jeff Dahl, which is Dahl is his last name, Jeff Dahl, it's jeff@looprope.com. It'll be easiest if I just bounce over to that Zoom room though. So Selena, did you have something you want to say before we wrap this
Yes,
room up?
how do I join the Inventors Forum?
go to inventorsforum.com
Okay.
.com or .org?
or .org. .org.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark. Inventorsforum.org. And we stop our meetings after this meeting until the 1st of January, or the last Friday of January will be a members only meeting. But please come and join us. We'd love to have you.
I will.
Inventorsforum.org.
Okay, I will.
right,
I've just started inventing about 4 years ago, and I'm up to several at this point. So, but I
Wonderful.
just feel like I've just been isolated, just me. So I'm just, as I said, I'm really overjoyed just to find a good group.
We would
Yeah.
love to have you come join us.
Now, Selena, they normally meet in person in Orange County, California. So
Okay.
a little ways from you.
I'm not
But,
far.
you know,
People coming
Selena's
to
in
us
Las
from
Vegas.
Bakersfield. What are you talking about? From Bakersfield and Palmdale.
Yes.
So we welcome to everyone from any corner of the country.
Okay, I'm in Las Vegas. It's a 45-minute flight, so.
Exactly.
And everybody there is really nice. So you'll feel very welcome. So with that, everyone, let's wrap up this room, and I will bounce over to the other Zoom room and take questions there. And Robin, I'll be there in a minute. So Mark, I need the link for that because I don't know that Zoom room link. So if you want to maybe drop it in the chat, and if anybody from here wants to bounce over there, we'll have it all work. It'll be good. So
I'm struggling with the chat because I'm on my phone. I'm used to doing Zoom on my computer.
you
Let
can
me
just
see.
text it to me if you want to that same
Okay.
thread, and I'll join
Okay.
you.
Okay, very
Hi,
good.
everybody. Thank you.
I have a very quick remark for Selena. I know there is at least one inventor group in Nevada, probably in Las Vegas. Now, we'd love to have her at our meetings in Orange County, and she'd probably be there quicker than I am because it takes me 3 hours through downtown LA or 4 sometimes.
Wow.
I'm in Santa Barbara. But anyway, that's all I have. Thanks.
Okay. All right. I'll look for that too. All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone, for joining.
Thank you so much for helping wrap up the year really well. And I will see you all, I'm sure, in the future. So good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
Amy. Thank you, Amy.
Don't forget to save your chat.
Yeah, exactly. Save the chat. Thank you. Mark, thanks for the reminder.
You're welcome.
Yes, yes. Oh,
Bye, everybody. I'm gonna turn off my camera. I'm gonna sit here while everybody